Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we have some more feedback on some speaking test, this time with Min's speaking test. Let's check it out. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Glyn. Would you please tell me your full name?
Oh, my full name is Minh, but you can call me Minh for short.
Okay, this part isn't part of the test. I'm just turning up my volume because Min's volume is just a little bit low. Ming. Okay. Thank you. Now, in this first part of the test, I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from Vietnam. It's just a small country in Asia.
Asia. Very nice pronunciation there. And which town or city do you live in?
I'm directly live in Hanoi,
I'm directly live. What was that? I'm directly live.
capital, which is maybe one of the most famous city in Vietnam.
One of the most famous cities. So we need plural form there. One of the most famous cities in Vietnam. And what do you like most about the city?
I think Hanoi have some special
Hanoi have. Hanoi has. Present simple, I have, you have, but this city has, Hanoi has.
features that another cities don't have.
Another should go with singular noun, so another city, but other cities, but we don't say another cities. So immediately obvious that there are some basic grammar mistakes here. Present simple, singular, plural. How many times on this channel have we seen students making the same mistakes? Present simple, and this is all grammar that students know. It's not like they're trying to find some very irregular use of an article, or they're trying to use past perfect continuous or something. This is all present simple, singular nouns, plural nouns. All of this stuff is taught at elementary.
First of all, it's kind of hustle and bustle city.
It's kind of a hustle and bustle city. Okay. I've heard many candidates now tell me that their city is a bustling city. Just feels like, okay, it's topic specific, it's fine, but okay.
It's also gather lots of opportunities for a
It is also gather lots of opportunities. So that grammar is very strange.
person to develop.
Person. Beautiful pronunciation of that word person. Her pronunciation is noticeably strong right from the beginning, but more comments on that soon.
And earning money in the city.
City. Really nice intonation there too. And is there anything you'd like to change about your city?
Well, I think it's about the pollution. The atmosphere in Hanoi it's quite detrimental.
The atmosphere is detrimental. I don't know. The atmosphere is detrimental. Detrimental is an okay word, but I don't know if it's really appropriate here. Okay, thank you. To be detrimental to somebody's health, maybe, the living here is detrimental to your health because of the atmosphere, but the atmosphere is detrimental. Sorry. Now I'd like to move on and talk about sports and games. Do you have a favourite sport?
Well, I used to
I like that start. Well, I used to. That's a very natural beginning.
play maybe badminton in the past, and then when I grow up until I was 11, I turned to play basketball.
In, then, when I grew up, until I was 11, I tend to play basketball. So lots of points of confusion here. Until I was 11, when I grew up, until I was 11. So for me, an 11-year-old hasn't grown up yet. And I tend to is a present simple, a present time semi-modal, but you're using it to talk about the past. I tended to play would be better. So confusing grammar here, sorry.
But until now, I'm 17 and I give up all of them.
Until now, I'm 17 and I give up. Maybe I have given up. So very often students can show that they don't have a wide range of grammar when they just use present simple to talk about everything. It doesn't matter if it's usually, right now, in the past, in the future. They just use present simple, and it seems to be that's what this candidate is doing. And do you watch sport on TV?
Sometimes when there have some maybe football match between some countries with Vietnam, my family used to gathering together and
So, do you watch any sports now? Yeah, sometimes when there are football match, my family used to do something. So again, I'm not sure about the time that you're talking about here. Are you talking about present time? Because the question is about present time, but now you're talking about used to in the past.
watch match, football match together.
And what's the most popular sport in your country? So again, notice that the theme here is sport, and so there's a lot of opportunity to use a lot of language connected to sport, but student isn't exploiting this opportunity.
Oh, it's also football too.
It's also football too. It's like, okay, but think of the different things you could use here, right? So, football is definitely the most important sport, but it's not the only sport. Our company often sends athletes to the Olympics and we compete in a variety of events, anything from the long jump to the high jump, but also some other kind of more obscure sports such as sailing and judo or something like this. That's exploiting the theme and getting topic specific language out. But unfortunately, it's also just football, and it's like missing opportunities to score points.
Because it's prone to the boys and the
Football is prone to I think you could say maybe the boys are prone to watching football, but I don't know if you could say football is prone to the boys. It sounds a bit strange.
men. They're really interested in football.
They're really interesting football. They are really interested in football. So there isn't a lot of grammaticization of her language.
But I think it's also interesting. Old man in the
But I think it's also interesting, All Men in the World. Very nice pronunciation. I have to say, the connected speech and the phonological range both sound great.
world.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to talk to you about laughing. What kind of things usually make you laugh?
Well, it's about maybe some animals, funny animals I watch on some social media.
Animals? Sounds almost
For
American.
example, like cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs. It's strange. She has some aspects of British pronunciation, like the way she says person, person. It sounds very British, and then cats and dogs sounds American.
And they sleep in the TikTok or Facebook scrolling, so I usually watching them.
And I don't know how coherent the answer is. Again, the lack of grammatization makes it lack of grammar just makes it a little bit difficult to follow. Are you good at telling jokes?
Oh, definitely not.
Very British again there. Definitely not. Americans say definitely not. But she's going, definitely not. Very British.
I always commented by people that I am
I always commented by people. Again, there's just no grammar there.
really bored and tedious. I don't
I'm really bored and tedious. I think she means I'm really boring. There's a difference between being bored. How do you feel? Oh, I'm bored because there's nothing on TV. And I'm really boring. I can't tell good jokes.
have ability to tell you a love story or something like that.
Okay, but it's not coherent. I don't have the ability to tell you a love story. Well, the question is, are you good at telling jokes, which is different to telling a love story? So, lack of coherence in the answer. And do you like watching comedy films or TV shows?
Oh, maybe yes. I
Maybe. Nice intonation.
think the comedy in Vietnam films it's quite intriguing. So
Intriguing. By the way that it's written, it looks like intriguing, but it's not intriguing. It's intriguing.
I tend to watch it a lot.
I tend to watch it a lot, so we get this overuse of tend to. She used it inaccurately earlier, but she's using it correctly here. And do you have any famous comedians in your country?
Can you say it again?
Do you have any famous comedians in your country? So, comedian should be clear. She understood. Do you watch comedy movies or comedy shows, it should be clear that, IAN is a suffix that we use for people, especially with professions like an electrician, for example. Um, Comedian is a profession where somebody tells jokes, makes people laugh.
Um, I think I can't answer these questions because I don't know what does comedian mean.
That's okay. I don't know what comedian means. So it's fine to say that, if you don't understand one or two questions, it's absolutely fine to say, yeah, sorry, I just didn't understand the question. Perhaps we could move on. But there's a grammar mistake in her apology, which is, a bit sad. I don't know what is comedian means or something. I don't know what comedian means. Or I don't know what this word means. All right, let's move on. And in this next part of the test, all right, so we're already getting to part two. So in part one, what do I notice? Answers are slightly short, perhaps. So I can't say that I'm convinced that the candidate is comfortable speaking at length. I haven't seen evidence of that, but we'll see how she does in part two. Answers are generally coherent, although there are some cases where she goes off topic a little bit. Are you good at telling jokes? Oh, I'm a bored person. I can't tell a love story. It's like, okay, but that's not the question. Pronunciation is very, very nice, especially the phonological range is very, very nice. Intonation is nice. Connected speech, there are aspects of it. I can't say that there's sustained intonation over long stretches of speech because I just haven't heard very many long stretches of speech. So we'll see how that goes in part two. Vocab seems decent enough, but grammar is certainly the big standout weak point in her language so far. I don't think the grammar will get better. So what am I going to listen to? What am I going to listen for in part two? Let's see how she does with vocab. I'm going to give you a topic, and I would like you to speak about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. But before that, you will have 1 minute to. Let's just go forward. Can you see the topic?
Yes, I do.
I'd like you to describe a person who is often in the news and who you would like to meet. Your 1 minute of preparation time starts now. Okay, let's just do a little bit of analysis. So, describe a person who's often in the news and who you'd like to meet. Kind of a strange question. Two parts there. Who the person is. So, something about profession, fine. How you know him or her. Again, it's very open, no topic specific language. Why he or she is often in the news. You could mention something about the type of news that they appear in, and there could be some language connected to news, but not massively, and explain why you would like to meet him or her. So maybe some words connected to admiration or respect, I look up to this person, or talking about some of their achievements, some biographical information, which would also allow you to use some past tenses, perhaps. So nothing immediately obvious about the kind of grammar or vocab that should be used, apart from, connected to admiration. But let's see how she does. Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Okay. I'm gonna talk about a person that I often see in the news, and I think also I want to meet
Okay, there's not much evidence of paraphrasing here, it just seems to be reading, but okay.
in the future. She's Nguyễn Khánh Vi. She's a YouTuber in Vietnam and also a famous MC.
Cool, a YouTuber and a famous MC, that's clear so far.
Well, I was known this girl.
I was known. I don't want to talk too much about grammar because I think I already know what the grammar score is going to be, but I was known. I have known this person for a long time, or I know this person because.
Because of the videos from 7 years ago. She can speak 7 language and she can like really proficient in that language. So
In those languages.
I was just very impressed with her.
Okay, so proficient is good in those languages. I was very impressed by her. Okay, decent.
Oh,
Trying to focus on vocab, remember. So if you notice some grammar mistakes and I'm not commenting on them, it's because I'm trying to focus on grammar on vocab.
and we also have a high high band score at IELTS that she
High band score, very topic specific.
got 8 band. So
She got 8 band. She got band 8.
I think that she's really intelligent.
Intelligent, nice.
Also, her job is an MC, so she usually
Bit of repetition here. You've already mentioned that, so you could skillfully say, as I've already mentioned, one of her roles is as an MC.
do some interviews at universities or some
Do some interviews. Cool. That's nice collocation.
blog that I can follow her through the social media.
I can follow her maybe on social media, but through social media is okay.
Also, Ivy is like a typical person that I want to be in the future. Like she's so mm, active. I mean,
Don't know what it means to say she's active. I'm hoping she'll explain that. Maybe prolific, like she makes a lot of content. But again, if you use words, always try to justify them by backing them up with explanations.
she's interesting in
Okay, she's interesting.
everything. She cares about everything, and she always ready to learn.
It just seems a bit empty, right? She's interesting and she always cares about everything. Okay, but we want specifics. We want to be precise with our vocab, not vague, not too general. Oh, I like him. Why? Well, he's nice. Why? Oh, he does nice things. Like what? Lots of stuff. Okay, but drill down, be specific, give examples, give details. We like details.
Learn it. How even hard it is. Oh, also an optimistic
Optimistic.
person, and I think that was a really
So you don't get points for the optimistic. It's a nice try. It would be a wonderful word, but not sure that you know it very well.
good, very good personalities that each person should have in their life because she's always look forward. She's never
She is always look forward. Again, I don't know what that means when you say she is always look forward. You have to back it up with explanations, details, examples.
let the past like buried her.
She doesn't let the past bury her. Okay, give an example. Maybe something bad happened to her in the past. Maybe some people criticized her, but she made a video and she said that she doesn't care what other people say about her because, she knows that she's a good person and she's going to keep going in her life. And I found that quite inspiring because in my own life I've experienced some criticism, and when I see people responding in this way, it gives me hope that I can deal with it. Right, all of that's good details and examples, but we don't get that. We just say, oh, she always looks forward and she doesn't let the past bury her, but without any details.
So I think like this one of my my more
Again, it seems like the candidate's running out of ideas here and she's starting to think about language. Don't think she's prepared and organized her notes well enough to cover the 2 minutes.
model person I want to be in the future.
Model person, maybe a role model, but I don't know model person. Sounds strange.
And the reason why I want to meet her because
The reason why I want to met, grammar,
I want to interact with some famous
to interact with, very nice.
people in the reality. Also,
Maybe not in the reality, but in real life is better.
like maybe I can learn something really good and from that experienced person.
Okay, thank you. And how often does this a person appear in the news?
Can you say it again?
How often does this person appear in the news?
Oh, she's. I think it's quite frequent. Frequently. Can we use these the appears on the maybe YouTube standards or TikToks or some advertisements in the
Advertisements or advertisements? Both are accepted.
YouTube.
Thank you. All right, so comments on part 2. So there was some good vocab there. Some of it wasn't always appropriately used, and sometimes she just showed that she didn't quite know a word like optimistic, for example. But certainly there were some good bits of evidence. I don't know about meeting someone in reality. Meeting someone in real life is just a bit more natural. So good evidence of vocab, topic specific vocab, especially connected to personality, like talking about her being intelligent, but lacking in details. So the fluency and coherence, I don't know, I just don't feel like it's a substantial, well developed answer. if you don't explain, if you don't give details, if you don't give examples, it's not quite coherent enough. But okay, let's get to part three. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of know what the grammar is. I know what the vocab is. I'll still listen to some vocab. I know what the pronunciation is going to be. Interested in fluency and coherence. I'd like to see her answer questions in full. Maybe part one and part two, not quite detailed enough. If she can prove herself here with a lot of detailed, a lot of good, well thought out, fully developed answers, this could push her score for fluency and coherence. But let's see. So I'm going to listen for fluency and coherence in part three.
Really?
Okay, so you've been talking about a person who often appears in the news. Now I'd like to talk about the news in a more general way. What kinds of people are usually in the news in your country?
Well, it's usually about the politics.
Usually, so I know a lot of people in East Asia have difficulties with the j sound. So I don't. I know that she knows that the word usually should be pronounced as usually with a j because we spoke about it afterwards. So maybe there isn't quite the full phonological range. There's certainly a very, very, very wide phonological range, but perhaps not quite the full.
I mean,
But we're focusing on fluency and coherence, especially coherence.
the person who in the policy figures, and maybe sometimes about the model who work in the fashion figures.
So I know because of the grammar it can be difficult to follow, but she's basically said politicians and models. So, what kind of people often appear in the news? Politicians and models.
Sometimes it's about education too,
Sometimes it's about education. It's not people, so it's not coherent.
but almost of them about the authorities
Something
like that.
And do you? Okay, so we don't get a full answer, a fully coherent answer. We only get politicians, models, education, authorities. But there's no explanation about why those people appear in the news. There's no details about the type of things that they've done that make them go into the news. There's no explanation of why people are interested in such news or in such figures, or why those people are in the news instead of other people. And that's what we need for higher scores for fluency and coherence. I agree that most of the news we get nowadays is bad news. So, do you agree that most of the news we get nowadays is bad news? So, we want yes, I agree, no, I don't agree, and reasons why.
Well, I don't agree because beside the bad news, as we can see, there's some
The pronunciation is becoming a little bit more mechanical here in part three.
kind of the information that did not viral well. I think this have some news and information that was quite quickly, and it was updated so fast. And
So, question is, do you agree that most of the news we get is bad news? And she said she doesn't agree, and now she's just talking about news being updated quickly. I don't know if that's connected to it. You want to give lots of examples of positive things. Like, no, I don't agree. Of course, whenever there's like a tragedy or an earthquake, the news covers it. But we should also remember that we get a lot of sports news. People winning things, winning gold medals at the Olympics, or lifting trophies, and sometimes you get local news about people rescuing cats and things like this, and this is positive news, right? That's the type of detail we want.
it's can reliable.
It can reliable. It's not an answer to the question, do you agree that most of the news we get nowadays is bad news? And why do you think so many people don't trust the news that they read nowadays?
Well, because the maybe the trash contents was appears too much.
Again, it's not a coherent answer. Why don't people trust the news they read? Well, maybe because people, I don't even remember the exact answer she gave there, but it wasn't connected closely to the question.
There's a lots of kind of videos that provide you some like unbalanced content that make people feel annoyed or like disappointed, and they worry.
again, I'm not sure if it's really an answer to the question, why don't people trust the news they read?
About if their kids or their parents could watch that content.
And how has technology changed the way that we get our news?
Well, in the past, we don't have technology,
In the past, we didn't have technology. Well, we had some technology.
so it is quite
Yeah, that's strange. In the past, we didn't have technology. We did have technology in the past. I promise you, the printing press is a hugely important piece of technology. The typewriter is a hugely important piece of technology. So we did have technology in the past. I promise. I was there.
hard to update some news that we have to read the news through the newspapers. But until now, you can access it so quickly just through a
Okay, I think in a roundabout way, in an implicit, slow way, she's making the point that nowadays we can get information, we can get news more quickly. And she should just say, nowadays we use our phones for everything. So in the past, maybe you had to wait, you had to buy a newspaper, so you only got, news once every day. But nowadays you can access websites, you can see updated news 24/7. That would be a better answer.
mouse and just a click, and also you can like read the news in everywhere. So it's really
Okay, kind of a more coherent answer, slightly.
convenient.
And how do you think this might change in the future? I don't think we'll get a lot of developed grammar to talk about future time here, but we'll see.
Well, maybe the content will be viral, but it's really
Maybe the content will be viral. Again, it just seems too simple. What does it mean? Like what? All news will be viral in the future?
more straight. I mean,
More straight? I don't know.
the authorities or maybe um, the authorities they will have to control the content that was out to the social, and maybe the content will be more reliable.
Okay, so in the future, authorities will control the content and that will make it more reliable. Guess that's what she's kind of trying to say, which again is a fairly coherent, but it's a very underdeveloped answer. And finally, what are some important characteristics that a good journalist should have?
Can you say it again?
What are some important characteristics a good journalist should have?
Oh, well, I think a journalist, I think they should maybe improve in ability to choose
So, what characteristics should they have? Adjectives or nouns would be good, but they should improve their ability to do something. Sounds strange.
people or partner to cooperate with them.
They should improve their ability to find a partner to cooperate with them. Um, with journalists, you want them to be honest, you want them to be passionate about the truth, you want them to have integrity, you want them to be fair, you want them to be open minded and to understand their own biases. And when they're reporting the news, we want them to stick to the facts, not to try to manipulate or exploit. Right? Those are the type of characteristics we want in journalists.
To produce balance contents for everyone. Also, they should focus on some real problems of the
This is an understandable point. They should focus on some real problems.
society. It's not about the problems of some personalities and the
So that's a fair point, right? Focus on real issues, the real problems, not, celebrities and personalities.
family of some person or some famous actors in the internet.
Okay, so one fairly coherent, but again, slightly underdeveloped answer at the end. Thank you. That is the end of the test. Perfect point to pause it there. All right, so let's get into some scores, shall we? So, starting, of course, with fluency and coherence. I think I have to drop it to a 5. So in some parts, you can speak at length, but the answers are almost always underdeveloped, and sometimes the questions, the answers, don't directly relate to the questions. So, this is, sometimes it can be difficult. I think Min mentioned that she was 17, and sometimes it can be difficult to talk about wider world issues. I know Glyn, as a 17-year-old, wouldn't have been able to take an IELTS test and wouldn't have been able to deal with those type of questions in a sophisticated or clear way. So I understand sometimes that can be a problem for younger people, but it is a skill, and more, studying of general English and getting used to this like discursive nature of how we discuss things, of how we make arguments and how we develop arguments and how we stick to the point. That type of training could be useful for her. Lexical resource, I would say 6. So there is clear evidence that you have a good range of vocab. However, there are also many noticeable instances when words are used incorrectly, or just slightly unnaturally. More paraphrasing would be nice. So when we talk about paraphrasing, we mean not repeating the examiner's language back to them. And I think in part 2, there was a case where you just read out word for word almost what was on the text. But lexical resource is decent. Certainly if we can cut down on those slightly unnatural expressions. Again, words like bored versus boring, that type of stuff, interesting versus interested. There were quite a few cases where that wasn't used successfully, so only a 6 for this. Grammatical range and accuracy, I think I can give a 5 for it. I don't think it's quite a 4, is it? So maybe the sentence structures, the sentence types help you maybe. So you used some complex sentences, and that's saving you here. However, you demonstrate, unfortunately, a very weak knowledge of even the most basic grammar in English. Fundamentals, present simple. Unfortunately, it seems like you don't know the present simple, and not just that you don't know it a little bit. It seems like you have big problems even understanding the most basic English construction, the most basic English tense. So that's something you really, really have to work on. Even if there are other good grammar points, if you systematically make this mistake with present simple over and over and over again, you're not going to get a good mark. Pronunciation was good. I think we can award the 7 for pronunciation. So this was by far your strongest point. You demonstrate a very wide range, let's say. A very wide phonological range with many sounds sounding perfectly natural. Person, even the little intonation within a word, da, 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 person, some of that stuff is just really beautifully, perfectly natural. There are some instances, so why not higher? So there are some instances where your speech becomes mechanical, where your intonation becomes mechanical, maybe is better to say. Especially when your fluency breaks down. So your fluency can affect your pronunciation here. There are also some noticeable mispronunciations of words. Intriguing or something. Intriguing. Now this probably isn't a pronunciation problem, is it? Certainly not a phonological problem, but knowing how to pronounce individual words, yeah, it can be. I certainly would want that for the 8 or the 9. Like usually, okay, maybe that's just a little phonological problem with the j versus z, maybe. There were aspects of sustained, some aspects of connected speech, but not sustained fully over the test. And certainly because the length of some answers were a little bit short and they were a little bit like disfluent, that didn't allow for like fast flowing, long stretches of connected speech. So, but good enough for the 7. So adding them all up, 5, 6, 5, 7. That overall then a 6. Hold on. 5, 5, 6, 7. Overall a 5.75. Right? Doing maths correctly, am I? 5, 6, 5, 7. So overall, that's a 5.75, and that will be rounded down, unfortunately, to a 5.5 overall. And I think 5.5 probably is a fair reflection of the candidate speaking in general. Key areas to work on. Your pronunciation is beautiful, really, really nice, but you have to, I'm just going to put 2 areas to work on. You have to clean up your basic grammar. Now, I think the candidate's knowledge of English in general is good. I don't think she will have a problem. She's not like a newbie learning grammar for the first time, but she has to find a strategy to stop making those very, very basic mistakes. And also, you have to learn how to respond to questions more coherently. Now, again, coherent, what do you mean more coherently? Well, questions should relate to, answers should relate to the question in a direct way, respond to questions more coherently, and develop them, right? You, especially using more details and examples to support your answer. So give you, for example, a very simple question, something like, I don't know, do you get on with your family? Yeah, I do. They're nice people and I'm nice, so we get on. Underdeveloped. Yeah, I do. I especially get on with my sister. Like, we think the same way about so many different things. Like, I'm a very patient person. She's a very patient person. And that's the complete opposite, actually, to my older brother, who's like, he has no patience at all. Like, if he has to wait for a bus for even like 5 minutes, he starts getting angry. So my sister and I, we kind of laugh at that because we both recognize that, that's something that, like, that's one of his shortcomings, but not something that we have, right? That's a nicer, longer, more developed answers, but with examples, backing it up with details. And unfortunately, we didn't get that from Min. So yeah, those are the areas that I think she should work on. Score 5.5 in general. I think that is fair. Yeah, if you have any comments about this candidate speaking test or about my feedback, please do let me know. Also, as I mentioned in the previous video, I am still taking requests for practice speaking tests. I can't guarantee that everyone will get them right now, but if you'd like to contact me and request a speaking test, please do let me know. Information on how to contact me is given below. Please do comment, like, subscribe on the videos because it helps with the algorithm apparently, but I appreciate everybody's support that you've given me so far. But I'll leave it there. Thank you very much and bye-bye.